Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, with us. And Bob, before we get going, we haven't talked since the CC Hall of Fame enshrinement with the team. And I know everything went great. The videos and audio was terrific. And I know that was a very special ceremony for not only the team, but you personally as well. That was a big weekend.
Yes, it was. Um, Cy Bynack and John Gorel going into our distinguished Hall of Fame. Remarkably, Johnny Gorel, 7 decades in the game of baseball. The script I wrote for the video, most people would call him a baseball lifer, but Johnny Gorel is baseball. And you spend 7 decades taking care of hundreds of athletes and staff members. He did it all in the game. Cy Bynack for 45 years took care of hundreds of players in the clubhouse. And, for a lot of them was the first person in the organization that a lot of players met. Whether it was their first spring training or it was a trade and coming over to our ball club and walking into the clubhouse, Cy would be there to greet him. And then CC, as he said, he was a kid that was born and raised in California, but he grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. And we saw him as a 17-year-old kid and saw him get married, become a father. Next year is his first opportunity to get on the Hall of Fame ballot in Cooperstown. And I'm of the opinion that he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, winning more than 250 games, 3,000 strikeouts. I happen to believe that he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, let's talk about another pitcher who is doing it for us, and that's Emmanuel Clase at the back end of the bullpen. He has become a weapon. He's been good the last couple of years. This year, even better. And you're pretty close to this team and such, Bobby. One thing is what has elevated his game to even another level, but talk about what he brings to the team.
Well, we aren't in the position we are as one of the top teams in all of baseball without the bullpen doing its job. And when you talk bullpens, you have to start at the closer position at the very back end, and then you build your bullpen from there. And Emmanuel Clase, is probably going to lead the major leagues in saves for the 3rd straight year. He's, last year he was the only reliever to collect more than 40 saves. He had 44, and closest guy was 39. He's too shy of matching Cody Allen for the franchise all-time saves leader role, and he's got 147. Obviously, Cody at 149, so he certainly is going to blow that thing away since he's got 2 club options and signed with us through 2028. So it's pretty remarkable what he has done, the consistency, the hard work he put in this offseason. Not happy with what happened last year, even though he was the only guy to have more than 40 saves in the big leagues. He blew 12 save opportunities and was not happy with his inconsistency. So he worked on his own strength, a couple of different pitches, and obviously came to spring training with the focus of being the best there is in the game. And I'll give you one stat, Ray, that I think maybe I tweeted this out yesterday. Actually, I reposted it late last night when I saw it on X. Somebody did team bullpen ERAs in the 7th inning, 8th inning, and 9th innings this year. We're obviously number one in the 9th inning. And here's how, and that's pretty much his role. we lead all major leagues in the lowest ERA in the ninth inning at 1.58. The second place team is Atlanta at 3.12. That's a huge, huge difference
Yeah.
when you talk about 1 inning of work. So, ninth inning is Clase time. So, yeah, that little stat there gives you a sense of how incredibly impactful he's been this year.
Bobby, we've had, different types of closers, right, throughout this team's history. We've had the Doug Jones. We've had some of the guys that will get it out with pinpoint location. We've had some guys with some heat. Andrew Miller comes to mind as well. But Clase, talk about I mean, this guy pumps sometimes 103, 104 miles an hour. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this. He is true weapon back there.
That's unbelievable. And a guy, again, who spent this offseason working hard on pinpoint control, working on getting that 101-mile-an-hour cutter to do what it had to do, to give him something a little bit else than to right-handed hitters than throwing balls low and away and hoping they go fish for it. Guys have to attack him early in the count because they don't want to get to 2 strikes with him, because it's a battle you're going to lose as a hitter. Cody Allen was a guy that just pure guts and guile, and worked on his mechanics and just had nerves of steel to get to being our franchise leader in saves for now. Bob Wickman was a different kind of guy, just a big old horse who was out there. Doug Jones had that I don't care attitude. Here's my changeup, try to hit it. Who closes games in baseball with a changeup as their number one pitch? The late great Doug Jones, loved him. One of the wittiest men I've ever come across in my life. Miss him dearly. Mr. Clase came to us. I think it was the winter meetings. Or maybe a week after. It was in mid-December 2019. We trade Corey Kluber to the Texas Rangers, and we get Emmanuel Clase and Delino DeShields in that deal. Sadly, unfortunately, Corey Kluber pitched, I think, 1 inning for the Texas Rangers. And obviously Emmanuel's putting his mark on this franchise history.
Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio with Hey Bobby. I want to go back a little bit, not too far ago, back to the early 2000s. It was this week in history that Travis Hafner tied Don Mattingly for most grand slams in a season, Bobby, with 6. And for that brief period of time with our Cleveland Indians at that time, he was maybe one of the 2 or 3 best power hitters in Major League Baseball, slugging from that left side for us. He put together a couple of years, and I know he still loves the Cleveland area and such. And reflect a little bit on Bronk there, Travis Hafner. And I said earlier today, I always loved enjoying interviewing him. He was fun. He didn't take himself too serious. But talk a little bit about Travis Hafner.
You're right. One of the most fun, engaging guys that ever came through our clubhouse. Another guy you love to death. Here's a guy that grew up on a farm in North Dakota. Sykeston was like the big city, 3 miles from his father's farm. There were 2 sons who worked the farm with their dad. Sykeston, North Carolina, at the time had 116 residents. His senior class, he'd always talk about how he was such an academic achiever that he was in the top 10 or even the top 5 of his academic class his senior year, but there were only 8 seniors in his entire class in high school. But that was the kind of humor that he had. Then he goes off to this Cowley Community College in Arkansas, or however you would say that town, Arkansas City, Kansas. And he's the 31st round draft pick. Think about that story. Coming out of a town of 116 on a farm, North Dakota. Not many baseball players from North Dakota. I think 3 in all of Major League history. And he becomes, for a period of time, about 4-year period before injuries sadly set in, that he and Albert Pujols were like the 2 top power hitters in the game in slugging percentage and OPS. You know, he had 28, 33, 42, 24 homers in a 4-year stretch, and driving in 100 runs, more than 100 runs every one of those years, leading the league in OPS and slugging one of those years, 2006. He just was on fire. And we renamed the middle deck of right field Pronkville, because he would put balls, you know, he and Jim Tomer about the only ones who really put balls up into that middle deck in right field. Just a fun-loving guy, loved to hit, loved to take BP, worked hard at the craft, hit 200 homers on the dot for us career-wise.
He really loved the Cleveland area. Matter of fact, I have a little connection story with him. I was down at the hospital going back 14 years ago when my twins were being born. And who do I look beside me and see here in Akron? It was Hafner and his wife, and they were getting ready to have their child that night. And he looked at me and I said, "I'm Ray Horner from WAKR." I said, "I thought I recognized you." And we talked for a couple of seconds. We were both very busy. But a
Yeah.
little the dots as him and his wife were getting ready. I bring that up because he really fell in love with the Cleveland region, Bobby.
No, he really did. Yeah, married a girl from here, and Amy, she's just terrific. And they had a home here for a while, and then they decided, he had enough of winter in North Dakota, enough winter in Northeast Ohio, and they park in Tampa, Florida these days. Still does some work for us in the player development system with some of our kids, and he's starting to become a little league coach and those kind of things. So he's focused in on helping his kids in their sporting ventures. And but again, one of those guys that when you see him, Ray, you just put on a huge smile because you just love connecting with him. He just such like Doug Jones. He had that little sly wit about him that you had to make sure that you were listening, because you would miss a gem if you weren't listening intently to your conversation with him. But another just phenomenal guy who absolutely loved to hit, had a couple huge hits for us in the postseason, and hit for the cycle at Minnesota, had to get a triple, and everybody was just roaring when he hit the ball in the gap, and he wasn't stopping. He was going to give that triple a shot, and he ended up making it to hit the 7th cycle in franchise history.
He's a guy that every time he got the big hit, big smile on everyone's face, because he was even more than baseball for us fans. Senior VP, it's called Hey Bobby. Senior VP of the Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, joins us each week. Bobby, another great show. Thanks for the time, my friend. We'll do it again next week.
Always fun, Ray. Thank you, sir. Go Guardians.